What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I want to talk about the races that we never talk about. And that's that silent racist, that silent white racist. That racist that doesn't go out like Nick Fuentes. See, Nick Fuentes, you can respect Nick Fuentes even though he's a dumb piece of shit, right? And he's a gay Mexican who does not being true to himself. The one thing you can respect is at least he talks about his insecurities out and open, right? He lets you know, hey, I'm a racist piece of shit. I'm also a misogynist. That's just who I am. I'm not going to try to pretend to be something else, right? And he has to deal with the consequences of those actions, right? But it's you other racists. It's you ones that got black friends. It's you ones that when you see racism, you don't say nothing. Or you may say, oh, that's bad. That's terrible. And you go around your black friends and you pretend like you give a fuck, right? But then you guys it always kind of squeaks out every now and then when something happens, like if let's say, a mass murder happens, right? And right when we see a mass murder, everybody's waiting to see what the identity of the person is, right? And we all know what happens if a Muslim, right? If a Arab person were to jaywalk across the street, the whole white community would sit there and see, that's why they shouldn't be in America. You gotta follow the rules. Blah, 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 blah. They'll do all this stuff. They'll say everything but that fucking Arab. I don't want that motherfucker here. What the fuck is he doing crossing my motherfucking white street? They saying that in their head, but then out in their mouth, they're like, still jaywalking. It's still a rule. It's still a rule. You can't do that, right? Those guys, right? Here's a great example. Brown University, right? When there was a string of terrorist attacks, and we all know they're white folk, right? Right, we know. 9 times out of 10, 9.9999 out of 10 is some fat, bald white guy or some balding white guy, mid-fat, about 5'7" and shit, something like that, and he just drove 1,000 miles to be afraid of some black person or some Jews or some Sikhs. Right, they always go to soft targets like churches, places where they know they won't meet anybody that could bring them a threat. So clearly, the places they go are not threats. They go places where they know the people are not a threat. So that way, when they go in their little shooting speed, they don't have to worry about getting hurt. Not at least right away, right? Right. But this time, when we found out that the Brown shooter, right, the one that got away, the one that the Indian non-qualified social media FBI director missed because he was too busy doing this, that, come to find out that this white guy, right, is a foreign white guy, a foreigner. I didn't hear anybody say, look at this criminal European illegal immigrant. I didn't hear anybody say, man, let's get these goddamn Europeans, let's pause the influx of these Europeans from this guy's country, right, until we figure out what's going on. I didn't hear any of you white folks saying, we need to deport these criminal illegal Europeans. You see, you only focus. You guys act like everybody that's not white, they're privileged to be here. But you guys act like you're not privileged to be in America. You guys really do act like I'm talking about you soft ones, the ones that have those little casual conversations that get the black American to go side-eye you, but the POCs, the Africans, and everybody else don't never see it. That's the underlying current of racism. You see, racism wouldn't work if you silent, compliant white people didn't allow it to happen. That's the truth. That's the real evil of America. That's why no POCs believe us. That's why the Africans didn't believe us. Because you silent racists who operate under the plausible deniability, meaning you'll do and say things that have different meanings. That way, when you get challenged on what we think you mean, you'll say, no, I didn't mean that. I meant it this way. How do you know? Because you're not in my head. How do you know I didn't mean it that way? I got black friends, right? And white people operate on that level. And they do it with each other because they have no trust in their communities. Neighbors will snitch on each other. Neighbors will mind each other's business. If one neighbor gets something better than the other neighbor, and this is in white neighborhoods, it's a problem. They have jealousy amongst themselves, right? But they bring everybody into their cultural defect, right? And they see black folks, they're just jealous because every time they see on TV, think about this. Black exploitation, right? America's really just White people looking at black people. White people enjoying black people stuff. Anything that's white American is just black that white people cosplay. That's just the truth. Everything, right? So think about this. They can't mind our business, right? We are the culture of the world. The whole world is practicing African American culture. The entire world. Because culture changes, right? The entire world is practicing African American culture, right? And despite that, somehow they hate us. Do they really hate us? Or are they just extremely jealous? And their extreme jealousy and the inability to be and do the things that we can do creates toxic envy, then creates toxic hate and animosity. You know, when you turn on the TV, all you see is a bunch of successful black people. Notice that. We balling, having a good time, right? Seem to be of right mind all the time, right? You look at sports, something white people like to play. White people like to play sports. They want to dominate in sports too. They want to be looked at as superior in sports. Every goddamn sport, they ain't nothing but the damn podcasters and the coaches and shit. Why? Because when it comes to sports, which is a even playing field in the physical world, and remember, sports is a simulation of war. That's the point of sports. That's the whole point of sports. You practice, keep your warriors ready for war, so you do activities that's conducive with war. American football is the most warlike sport on the planet. As far as its physicality, it's straight just my warriors against your warriors. The goal is to get this ball over there. You can't stop me from getting this ball over there. You're not powerful enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strategic enough. You don't have the twitch muscles to stop me. You don't have any of the spatial dynamics to manipulate yourself or the ball in the air in such a way to where I can get this ball over there without you guys stopping me, right? And before, they tried to hold off for a while. They kept the white quarterback, right? Whole team good. White quarterback. Because the quarterback, right? He's like the pilot of football. He's the pilot. He's the quarterback, right? Even though the quarterback is the leader of the team, right? Most of the times, right? They kept him white. So you have a whole black, all these over the years, even my own age now. I started, where white football players at? And if you're a white football player, you're exceptional. You are exceptional. So to be a white football player, right, on an even playing field, you got to be next level white, right? And there's plenty of next level whites that have a great career, right? That participate very well with African Americans within this battlefield, right? But all in all, it's all black folks. Why? Because when the playing field was even, we saw what happens. Look at basketball. Another one. They really hate that one because they really like basketball. White folks love basketball, right? What happens when they allowed black people? Because remember, keep in mind, they stopped us from playing all these sports for this specific reason. They knew it beforehand. It wasn't because they thought that we was disgusting. They didn't want to touch us because their favorite color is brown. Because if their favorite color wasn't brown, everything in their fucking house wouldn't be brown. Their dog wouldn't be a chocolate dog Labrador. God damn it. They wouldn't have went to Africa to get the brownest motherfuckers on the planet to come fucking do shit for themselves. We don't want to hear that shit. We fucking love brown. All right? Your favorite fucking color is brown. Your fucking table in your living room right now is fucking brown if you white. Huh? Y'all got that old, I want to live in the goddamn cabin style shit going on, which is cool because you guys are from the woods and shit. Y'all are woods people, right? Y'all love brown. Y'all been looking at brown since y'all inception. Y'all love that shit. Y'all love us, right? Y'all just want to have the brown for yourself. Y'all ate us. Listen, you fuckers ate us because you thought you was going to get our powers. Huh? Yeah. You got recipes and shit. You know, nigga and macaroni and cheese. You know, nigga and steak and cheese. Whole half. Tomatoes, lettuce, pickles, and onions. What the fuck you talking about? Bacon, lettuce, and niggas. Y'all was tripping. Y'all really thought y'all was gonna get that shit, didn't y'all? Didn't work. But to your credit, many societies, including African societies, right, and Samoan, and Asian, we've all, partaked in the eating of the others for one reason or another. It happens. So I'm not gonna, but that shit's pretty fucking recent. Just throwing it out there. But we know what the fucking deal is, right? But it's you silent motherfuckers. That's why most of us are shocked that you guys, especially on TikTok, all of a sudden, some of you silent people are starting to talk, right? And I understand that in your communities, that silent code that keep your goddamn mouth shut, because this racism is what we live on, what we breathe on. Because I got that too. Because I know once y'all step out there, right, the white people look at you as the white coons of your community. And then you got to go about your white community and your family knowing that you're on the opposite side of them. Your whole family could be racist to different levels, and you could be a progressive human, and you will not get along with them because y'all gonna argue every fucking time y'all get together, and y'all cutting family members off. There are some silent people who's doing some work, because you silent racists. See, there's an army of silent racists and an army of silent so-called allies. People who really are legitimately not racist, but they don't say shit, right? But that makes you complain. It makes you're culpable because you don't say shit. Because you may not be racist, you may not have a evil bone in your body, but at the same time, you enjoy walking outside and not having to worry about, being called a nigga. You enjoy when a police car pull you over, that you don't have to worry about getting murdered. You're probably going to get a ticket. And if you're white, if you're a girl, you might be kind of cute. You might get out of it, depending on what the cop looking like, right? But you guys get to enjoy all kind of shit, and y'all want to continue to enjoy that shit. And once upon a time, there was a whole bunch of white people in a room, and a whole bunch of black people in a room. And a white lady asked, "Hey, does any of you guys want to be black?" And she didn't mean want to be black to have the superpowers to go do stunts and sports. She meant, does anybody want to be black in society and deal with black people deal with in society? Not one white person stood up because they fucking knew. You white people know, you just don't say shit. That causes your mental illness, because y'all hide. There's so many levels of shit that you guys hold on to in order to get along in your communities, that it causes damage within you. It's the truth. But I see you. African Americans see all of you silent ass racists that walk around and pretend like you cool. Some of y'all even try to compensate and try to act like y'all got soul. But we fucking see that shit. No one else see that shit, but we see that shit. And I just want y'all to know we see that shit and we're not falling for it. And the days are coming where that shit won't fly, because the dynamics of social interacting is changing. And the dominant society will not tolerate the minority acting in such uncouth way, right? Because you will have no benefit. Everything you thinking right now, you white folks, all the ways you guys think, it's not going to work in the future. This is a multipolar world happening right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. You guys were never going to stay in charge for long. Flash in the pan for you guys. All right, now you got to sit back and act like a human if you want to survive on the planet. Because if you don't act like a human, you won't survive on the planet. You're not doing very well right now. All due to your own, doing. Not us. We ain't do nothing. Imagine we didn't even try, and you're already making yourselves go extinct. You're doing that to yourself. We're not making you extinct. You're making yourself extinct. Imagine if we helped you along. This shit, a couple years, that'd be it. And that's the truth. Anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
When I realized that so much of white supremacist society operates on silent compliance, I learned to find peace. See, there are so many white people right here, right now, who voted for Agent Orange and who are suffering as a result of Agent Orange's policies and legislation and whatnot. And rather than vocalizing their suffering or making a movement out of it or calling it out, they follow the code of white patriarchal supremacy, which is total and utter compliance, but silent. These white folks who are suffering are silently filing for bankruptcy protection. They're silently living under mounting credit card debt. They're silently being squeezed out of the middle class. They're silently watching their communities and their neighborhoods and their families and their friends and their loved ones suffer from inflation, from the cost of living crisis. They're silently watching their children struggle to, failure to launch and whatnot. They're silently suffering and being crushed under the burden of lack of access to affordable health care. They're silently suffering and struggling under these things, knowing good and goddamn well that whom they vote for and the elected officials and policies they support are the very things that are causing them these forms of detrimental harm. And they're absolutely following the code and taking orders from and abiding by the requirement of white patriarchal supremacy, which is silent obedience and compliance above all. Pausing for hair appreciation. Yeah, these white folks trust and believe when SNAP benefits were temporarily cut, they were sweating. Okay, when they're talking about eradicating some forms of healthcare at the state level that Medicaid and Medicare programs subsidize, they're sweating. They are suffering. They are struggling. They're being crushed under the weight and the burden of the same white, patriarchal, supremacist system that they fight to maintain and uphold. All right. And they will just silently go back to their overpriced middle class homes. They'll silently go back to their 4-digit monthly car notes. They silently go back to their 5, almost 6-digit level credit card debt and their overdrawn bank accounts. All of these things that we Black people and people of color openly, vocally talk about on our social media platforms and whatnot, they are experiencing those things in droves because they have typically on average more debt than us minorities do, just by virtue of the fact that they have access to more loans and credit scores and higher credit scores, I should say, because of the same white supremacist patriarchal system. Pausing one more time for hair appreciation. Get into it. While everything is burning and it seems as though everything is collapsing and falling on its head and whatnot, they're just silently don't say anything, because the silence and the obedience part is a strict requirement of abiding by white patriarchal supremacist institutions and systems, right? You're not supposed to vocalize that you're struggling because you're white. You're not supposed to be struggling. Minorities struggle. The Blacks struggle. The poors and the illegals, they struggle. Okay, you're not supposed to be struggling, and you're not supposed to let other people know or let wider society know that you are also experiencing these same issues and that you are struggling and suffering and being crushed under the weight of these really bad public policies. And before any white person tries to disagree with me, please recall that I am a lawyer. I have a JD. I do not argue for free. You will be blocked, right? And I'm not just speaking from anecdotal, like sociological observations. I'm speaking from lived experience. I worked in a consumer bankruptcy law firm for 1 year, full time as a clerk. I would love to show you the number of people, the number of white people, and the kinds of zip codes and houses they lived in who were begging for bankruptcy protection. Please stop. But they're very silent about it. They're very quiet about it. That's why you don't see them trying to, join ranks or, hitch their wagons of advocacy to Black people or to people of color, because they're not supposed to need the advocacy of a Black or an illegal or something. They're white. They're not supposed to need your voice to speak up for them. They're not supposed to experience the same challenges that you experience because you experience them because you're not white and they are white. So it's this, huge amounts of cognitive dissonance, right? If I just keep ignoring the problem and close my eyes and dig my heels in and bury my head in the sand, then, this problem will just go away because I'm white after all. Someone will come in and swoop and save me. And by the same token, they open their eyes and nothing is happening. No one is coming to swoop in and save them. And rather than trying to save themselves in any regard, they just continue voting for these politicians. They continue voting for these elected officials while silently suffering, because the silence is a required part of maintaining access and power within white supremacist, white patriarchal supremacist systems.
Fuck this, fuck that, and bitch, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck shit, fuck your daddy too. No, I ain't forget your motherfucker too. Motherfucker, fuck your blood and this fuckery they got us going through. Some fuck-ass white man long ago got all his fuck-ass friends on board with fucking up the world for sport, with fucked up weapons, ways and words. Now fast forward to present day, their fuckery has had its way, but as sure as F-U-C-K, this dog will have its fucking day. Fuck this, fuck that, and bitch, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck shit, fuck your daddy too. No, I ain't forget your motherfucker too. Motherfucker, fuck your blood and this fuckery they got us going through. Those fuckers put us under spells, said fuck y'all to a living hell. Fuck all the laws that nature tells, so we die cursed while they live well. But fuck, I've had it up to here. I curse their curses with no fear. I give no fucks, I live to hear the song that justice sings so clear.
Preach again! Boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan. Boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.